Well, hey, welcome back to the Amanda Kaufman Show, and welcome back to Debra Angilletta, who is a fractional CFO. I would say an angel with a spreadsheet, if you were to just ask me personally. She's an absolute genius when it comes to profit first, to cash flow, to making better decisions for your business that are going to help you with serving your customers even better. And of course, feeling good about what you're building as a business. And I'm really excited to have Debra here because since our last episode, she released a book and we're going to talk about that book as well. Debra, welcome back to the Amanda Kaufman Show.
Well, Amanda, thank you so much for that lovely introduction. Thank you so much. Great to see you.
It's so good to see you. So, dear listeners, we were getting ready. I asked Debra what would be a win for this conversation. And just true to form, she says, we're going to have an organic conversation. Gold's going to come out. And I was like, yeah, because that's basically what it's like hanging out with Debra. She does come up with a lot of gold. And just, I want to give a little bit of background for the reason that I invited you back to the show. And the reason is because for real, working with Debra helped me to recognize areas in my business that I was so scared to look at that no other coach would help me navigate through. And I found her to be just a very intelligent, compassionate, experienced person. And I've referred Debra to many of my clients as well. So I thought that this show could be special for you, listener, because maybe you're going to pick up a thing or two that could help you approach business in a different way. So, Debra, I'm so curious. What are you seeing in the conversations that you're having these days when it comes to business owners thinking about their money?
Yeah. They're wondering where the heck it's going. They're like, listen, I got money coming every month, Deb, and they're like, I have no idea where it goes. At the end of the month, I'm left with nothing. And I
Yeah.
bust my behind and I'm making some good stuff happening, right? I'm making it rain. The money's coming in, but I feel like the more I make, the more it just goes out. Why does this happen?
Yes. Oh my gosh. And that's the exact treadmill you helped me hop off of. And I remember saying to myself, like, I'm working way too hard and I'm making too much money to feel this stressed about it. Like that's how I felt when we first engaged. And, we popped the hood together and it was kind of hilarious because as good as I am at math and as happy as I am to pull up a spreadsheet, it was a little different having you comb through it. So what do you think the difference is when somebody is trained like yourself as a fractional CFO? Like what is that special sauce that you have?
Yeah. So I think it's the ability, honestly, one of the things I'm really good at, I'm just really good at finding money. It's been something I've been able to do my whole life. So if there's a place to go, I will find money. So really bringing that through all of my experience through finance, I've worked for banks, I've worked for financial planning firms, I've been a trader on Wall Street, and bringing that all together and all that knowledge, working with businesses, having my own businesses really to kind of guinea pig on and see what works and what doesn't work. And then also really looking at, we have a lot of partners in business. And so when I say that, I say we have finance partners, whether we're a small business or whether we think that or not, because most small businesses, we all have bookkeepers, and a lot of people also have people who do your taxes. We have CPAs, and they're great resources. I work with them all the time. But one of the things that I found and this is the big gap that I found by actually doing research for this little guy over here, the book, is that there's a big disconnect in information. Now, having a bookkeeper, having a CPA, yes, you want to have those people in your business all day long. They are super valuable. But there is a gap. And the gap is the information that those reports that they generate and the work that they do, what it can provide for business owners so that they can drive their business forward. There's so much information there. And I think that what I've been able to do is capture that information, pull it into the business owner and serve it up just in a different way to be able to have conversations around the reports that they get so that they know exactly what to do and the moves they need to make to drive their business forward.
Yeah, that's so good. And it's a really great perspective because I know when as you're building a business, as I was building a business, I read books like Profit First. I would get insights, different masterminds. You need to focus on this, and this. And, it can feel very overwhelming to take care of everything all at once. sense. And one of the things about money that I found it to be so super helpful to have you as a fractional CFO is I would tell stories and get emotional about it. It's like, oh well, I have to keep that subscription because yada yada blah blah blah, or I had to continue with paying for this exposure, or I had to, I owed it to this contractor that I was working with to continue long beyond our original project. Like I would have these stories that I'd tell myself because I mean, you are the founder and you do make decisions for a reason. And I think one of the things that I found super helpful was you have this beautiful ability, yes, with the numbers and the spreadsheets for sure. Like y'all, her attention to detail is sometimes disconcerting. It's like really, really, really good. But she's also she's a coach, right? So you knew how to talk to me about it in a way that I didn't feel threatened, I didn't feel shamed, I didn't feel all these really negative things that I think a lot of entrepreneurs, they're unwilling to make the necessary changes to how they flow their cash because of emotional reasons. And I felt like you were outstanding in you didn't coddle me, at all. And you also never ever shamed me. Never ever ever. It was just very matter of fact and like, of course, and that's a good point. And then you'd ask me more questions. And then I would arrive at like, oh yeah, gee, maybe that is a different way that I could be flowing my cash.
Well, thank you for that. Yeah, we
Yeah.
had a lot of great conversations, Amanda. And I think the other piece of the formula here is that, you were really ready for it. And even though it's painful, we get to a point in the pain where we're ready for the shift and the change. So
Mm,
it really comes hand in hand. So, yes, it is a journey and being able to understand the connections we have with money. And a lot of them come from our backgrounds of how we grow up. And we talk about our money story, and that money story is real, right? It really shows up. And even if you conquer some of those things that we're challenged with through our lives, sometimes as we grow and getting to the next level, and I know you were at that place, Amanda, where you were getting ready to grow and get to the next level, is that then those little money stories come up again and it's like, wow, I have to revisit it. And really when you're walking through that and the practicality of it, of what can this really mean for you, what are the opportunities, and then what's really holding you back, and then looking at those two together side by side and saying, I think I want to be over here, I think I want to be an opportunity, and I think I want to walk that
yeah, that's so good. I think that that was definitely an area of growth that I experienced where I hadn't even really realized where I was refusing to make trade-offs. And, that the description of it of being side by side, the way that you just laid it out is like that's exactly what it was like working with you. Is that you could show, well, yes, you could continue that path and this is where it leads. And then if you did this other path, this is what it allows and where it could lead, right? And so, I think about what is strategy. The way I was taught what strategy is it's the decision making you make about the resources you have to get the best possible outcome. And so those conversations were so pivotal at a time when I was feeling pretty overwhelmed. I was feeling very uncertain. My business, like so many others, were experiencing the impact of AI disruption and really rapid changes in what the market is actually looking for and wanting support in. So I was feeling this pinch of both the top line and the bottom line. Because the thing is like when you're operating a business, there's a level of expense that's required. It's not like you can just go down to nothing and get something for it. And so those money stories for me, like I was very surprised how some of them had kind of circled back, but there they were, I love
Yeah, and
that.
people's money stories are all different. And talking about, I have one client who she just tells me, she's like, Deb, I'm just cheap. So she like wants to cut everything to zero. I'm like, no, you can't cut everything to zero. You have to have this or that. Like there are some practicalities within the business that you have to be able to use to drive it forward. I'm like, we can't like now you're going a little too far over on this side, right? So there is a balancing act with everything, and you just want to make sure that everything you do have in place, it
Yeah.
has a chance to pay a dividend or give you an ROI. So I always say, look at your expenses through a very, very keen eye, and what can give you a return, and what do you kind of just like donating every month. If it was a charity, at least you get a deduction for it, right? In that
Yep.
respect, in that way it could be going towards something. But if it's just going out and it's not benefiting you in any way, it's benefiting the other party, then you want to make sure it's a two-way street.
I love that. I'm curious if you're seeing people slowing down in any way around revenue or feeling some of the impact with some of the clients that you're working with? Because I'm definitely hearing a lot of chitter chatter about that. I'm sensing exhaustion that's not typical this time of year in some of my clients and their willingness to focus and follow through. And I'm just so curious what you're seeing in, summer of 2026.
Yeah, I'm seeing a lot of in summer of 2026, I'm seeing a lot of the beginning of 2025, meaning that there was a lot of uncertainty, right? So there was a lot of uncertainty going on, especially in the economy. And listen, I'm a person that believes that there's an opportunity in every economy. So I'm not hanging my hat to say, oh, this is what's going on. That's good. And you can't drive business for it. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying that the opportunities are there. They're just different. And so, yes, I am seeing a bit of a slowdown. I am seeing a little bit of a pullback because people don't have a clear vision on moving forward. At the beginning of this year, people had learned a lot from 2025 and they felt really confident. So when people feel confident, that's when the money flows. Just like when you handle your money really well and you understand it more, your confidence and your money flows better. But when there's
Hmm.
a pullback in the economy, that means that there's a lot of unknowns. And when there's a lot of unknowns, just like right now, so as of right now, we kind of still, I think, have a war going on. We're not quite sure what the status of it is, but there's still stuff going on in the world that's a little uncertain, right? Even if there's not like an official name on it. The economy seems to be pulling back a little bit as far as what's going on, but the stock market's up, right? So we've got a lot of different things happening, but I think people can't see what the rest of the year is going to bring. So then people, they don't feel confident. They don't really make what you were talking about decisions. People stay in indecision. And I think that that's a really terrible place to be. I think it's better to make a decision to move yourself forward, but I also think it's okay to be wrong, right? But I think it is important to drive yourself forward, and making a decision will actually help you move and help you pivot the way that you need to versus trying to wait for the perfect moment. And I think we're always trained to be right. Think about how we're educated in the school system, right? Right. When you're in class, if you have the right answer, you're the rock star, right? Everybody wants
Right.
the right answer. Everybody wants to say the right thing. And we hesitate if we think we're going to be wrong. And so I
Hmm.
think that's maybe where we are right now. People don't want to get it wrong, but you want to know what? I think making a decision, and if you can take one step to move it forward, is always going to be better than holding back, staying in indecision, and doing nothing.
Yeah, I mean, like, even if you do stay still, let's say you're just like perfectly still and you do nothing, you're still going to be affected by the environment around you. So, what's your quality of life going to be if you're always bending with the breeze, so to speak? And I was just chatting with a client of mine about the tough times in the industry that they're in, and I was like, dude, when the market is zigging, my favorite move is to zag, right? So if everybody is slowing down and being pensive and being conservative, I'm not saying be all willy nilly about it. You should definitely know where your numbers are. And this is a really good time to take calculated trade offs. Like the way I think of it is like calculated trade offs that do move really quickly. I think one of the biggest mistakes I made early in business, and we've talked about this privately, is making like massive bets that were beyond my capacity to recover versus having like smaller tests. So the thing I've been really coaching people towards is like still a lot of coaches, a lot of experts and consultants and people who sell through consult, they're doing these super long launches and they're like 3 months, 6 months, and they're trying to predict what's happening in Q4. And I'm like, babe, that's not the world we're in anymore, right? Like it's far better and far less expensive ultimately to design 2-week tests and to say, hey, instead of swinging for the fences with everything and then betting everything you have on that swing, what if you swung, let's see, in 90 days, gosh, I'm doing math in public. If you did tests that lasted, say, 2 weeks, where you put something in front of the market or you changed an internal process and you just let it ride for like 2 weeks. In a 90-day period, that means you get 6 concrete focused tests that you get results from. And with every test, you're learning and you're getting smarter. And yes, there's a cost attached to the test? And what's the benefit of the data? Like, I know even in your business, you've been testing and trying things with the book and you've been learning some fabulous stuff. So I'm just so curious, what are some of your favorite things you've tried and what have you learned? And if you're willing to tell, what did you find out was not true about promoting your book?
Wow, interesting question, pivoting to the book. So I think with the book, you have to just get really, really clear on your desired outcome. There's a lot of people who write a book for vanity purposes, and that's not why I write the book, right? So I think having the right why, and a lot of people want to write the book because they want to tell their story. And that isn't why I wrote the book, right? So you have to get your why very, very clear. And I have to think, and I think it's just my point of view, that you have to be very, very focused on your client or your customer, who the reader is going to be. I focused on the reader, and so many people focus on themselves. And I think that's where people get it wrong with the book. So, I mean, this is just taking it back to concept, right? So because of that, if you take a focus of the person that's going to read it and what is going to be helpful, you do the work. And the part of the work, and that's how we met, Amanda, is I interviewed over 100 business owners to write the book. That's a lot of work. And so a lot of people don't want to do that work. And I find that people do the work, get the reward on the other end. And so I
Mhm.
started off with a concept for the book that was nowhere near where it landed. So I'm glad that I did the work, because by talking to people, I got the information I needed in order to put my thesis together and be able to come up with something that was going to be super helpful and identify a really, really big gap in the industry. And like we had said at the top of the podcast, is that the information gap that business owners, what they're not getting from their accountants and bookkeepers, not that they're doing anything wrong, but they're getting a lot of reports. They don't understand what the reports mean, and they don't
Mhm.
understand how to action it. And that's really what the book is all about. So I think it really starts from the concept and who you're writing this book for.
I love that. And I've been along, watching you from basically early stage concepts and being one of those folks that you interviewed all the way through. You were drafting the manuscript and then, finding partners to work with to help you bring this thing to life. And, it took a tremendous amount of commitment on your part. And one of the things I noticed as you recount like what really mattered. I mean, what's your conviction like when it comes to promoting that book? Now that you know that you've talked to 100 people about their business finances and the gaps that they face, like what does that do to your confidence when you come onto a podcast or you go into a webinar or you walk into a room and you've got your book under your arm?
Yeah, I mean, first of all, a lot of people take that book and it does create an authority status for sure, right? So, but I've also been in my business for 14 years, so I think the confidence had come even before the book. But the book just opens up so many opportunities for business owners. It's something that you can give to people. It's kind of like their walk away so that they can get to know you more. It's a way to go ahead. It's really, I don't look at the book from a perspective of, hey, I'm going to sell a bunch of copies and make a bunch of money. That's not what it's about. It's really the calling card. It's really about, this is how I'm going to market my business. How are people going to know what I do? Listen, you can read the book. Everything that I do for my business owners and all the success that I have, and I mean, we're talking millions of dollars that we've recovered in hidden profits, millions over these years, right? And so, and how to do it, it's all in there. Right. So, and it's really put together in a way that's digestible. There's no spreadsheets. Yay. For some people, people
Yes,
say,
I was so excited when you were
yeah.
like, "I'm making a finance book that's not about spreadsheets," and I'm like, "Ooh," and there's actually quite a lot of storytelling in it.
Yes, there is. So there's a lot of stories from my clients and even people that I had talked to that weren't clients, but they gave me their situations they were in some ways that they could have pivoted as we furthered our conversation. And so people, I run into a lot of people that say, you know what, Deb, I'm just not a math person. Like I don't get the business stuff, but I know I need to get it. So how can I get it in a way that's going to really work towards how I understand information? So really taking that accountant speak and kind of bringing it down to the everyday business owner. And that's really how the book was put together from that perspective. It's really just the everyday business owner that really is just looking at their bank account every day and trying to make decisions and really speaking from that perspective. But then just putting some of those finer points in there of the couple things that, really three things you need to focus on. And really that's it. So we made it just really simple. But simple, but at the same time, we made it so that you can action it as well.
Yeah, that's so so powerful. I think, in getting to work with you and to thinking about profit in a different sort of a way. I think one of the biggest outcomes that I got from going through the hidden profits process with you was not just I think a lot of business owners are told profit's important, and you can't be in entrepreneurship for very long before someone tells you you have to read Profit First by Mike McAllowitz, right? Like it's not possible. But I think like before working with you specifically, it was still something that I was treating as like a nice to have or a should be done, idea or concept. And after working with you, I started to realize I'm like, it really is the payoff of business ownership. Like if you don't have the stability that your business can provide, like that's how I look at what profit does for me. When I have profit, it means that I can have that emergency fund set aside. It means that I can afford to invest in infrastructure. It means that if there's curveballs, which, spoiler, there's always curveballs, then I feel a level of confidence and conviction that I'm going to be able to navigate through it because I planned for that ahead of time. And so I think like that ownership of profit, the recognition that building a business, I think this is the big distinction. When I first started in business 9 years ago, it was originally kind of an escape from a corporate lifestyle.
Yes.
I didn't want the corporate lifestyle. At the time, I was traveling 48 weeks a year, or 46 weeks a year, excuse me, and 46, 48. Who freaking cares? I was on the road a lot and I had young kids at home. And I had this idea. I was like, it made no sense to me. A lot of the work that I was doing, I literally was traveling to go to a client's site. It took me hours and hours to get there, hours and hours to get home every week to basically hide out in a basement and do work for them from my laptop. And I'm like, if I'm going to hide out and do work from my laptop, like, could I like maybe do that from my front room? Like, do I really need to be traveling all the time? And that was like my original inception of, it would be very nice is if I got to do work that I love to do and I got to do it wherever I wanted to do it. And I think that was enough to, shall we say, like launch into this thing with gusto. And I did. And learning like, hey, business owners, like the reason you own stocks, the reason you own a business, it's the ownership. That's the key word is the ownership. So if you don't steward that profit, then you run the risk of running aground with the business. And so yeah, I mean, I'm on business number 2 now. And let me just say the first spreadsheet I made was a model out of how I was going to achieve profit and to sustain it. Even though I'm in a startup and maybe I'm not doing 30% profit, I have like that protected earmark. So thank you.
Yeah, that's great. And it's a great point that you made, Amanda, because a lot of people run into this too, where they leave corporate. So people go into, there's kind of 2 stages to this. They go ahead, they start their business, and really what they've done, just because they don't know this yet, they haven't learned this yet, is they've just traded their corporate job for another job, not really a business, right? So you have a corporate job and you've created a job for yourself. Now, once you kind of get through starting up the business, understanding the ins and outs, your tech stack, how you need to sell, how you need to market, all that kind of stuff, getting your clients, getting things dialed in. After all of that, the dust settles. It's typically money in, money out, money in, money out. You're really not worrying about profits. But then there comes a day and you're like, whoa, I'm working way too hard for what? When money's coming in and I'm just paying everybody else. And what am I getting out of this? Like, I might as well go back to corporate and get the paycheck. I wouldn't have all this other stuff, right? That's usually the moment that people say, I've been working in the business, but I really need to work on the business and become a business owner. And when you become a business owner, that's when you graduate to understanding how important generating profits in your business is. And
Mhm.
when you generate profits, that's when you can start paying yourself as the business owner and getting the reward for all of the time and all of the blood, sweat, and tears you're putting into the business. And that
Yeah.
also creates longevity because if you're able to generate profits consistently, now you have an entity, you have an asset, you have a business that can sustain itself no matter, let's go back to the economy, right? Yes, you're going to have curveballs. Yes, the economy is going to shift and change. But once you've graduated to that point and you understand how important generating profits is in your business and you understand the mechanisms of how to manage that, now you've got something you can move forward with into the future.
I love that. Before we wrap up, I have one more question, and we're going to do it right after this quick message. Check out my company. I sponsored the show. Okay, bye. All right.
I love
So
that.
it's so good, right?
Good.
And I'm thinking about profit. And I'm like, I can't afford at this stage of my business to hire A-list talent. We're just gonna turn on the camera and we're gonna run the ad.
I love it. You're so great. You're so great.
My friend, I'm so glad that you're here. If people wanted to catch up with you and find out more about Hidden Profits, find out more about your book, what's the best way to do that?
Yeah, you want to know what? They can get a piece of the book for free. They can download the first 3 chapters and they can go to findmyhiddenprofits.com.
Ooh, findmyhiddenprofits.com. Love it. And dear listener, we'll make sure to have that link around this video. Debra, thank you so much for being here.
Thank you, Amanda. It's always a good time.
All right. And if you loved this episode, if you're a business owner yourself, then definitely apply for the show. I'll tell you how. Just one second. Hey, Amanda here, and I am looking for guests for this show. So I'm looking specifically for established entrepreneurs who've figured out a thing or two about how to make this business thing work in the context of a real life. So if you would love to sit down for an episode of the Amanda Kaufman Show and let me pick your brain in front of the people, then make sure you apply at clairevenue.com/the-podcast. Link is in the show notes. Let's get back to the show. All right. That's what I had for you today, y'all. So make sure that if you haven't already subscribed, you do so. Make sure you share in the comments what you loved about the episode. And of course, grab the link and share it with 3 of your friends. And we will see you on another episode soon. Until then, do what matters.